Culhan for Envisaj Mercy, the Mercy College Environmental Sustainability and Justice Club. And we're standing here with what I consider the most important piece of technology for environmental sustainability for the 21st century. This device was actually invented in 1927 and became a part of commercial production and started appearing in people's households throughout the Depression era in America, and then continued on to be a device that's now in 50% of American households. It's known as the incinerator food waste grinder. You may know it as the garbage disposal. This humble piece of technology is the key to sustainability, and I made that bold assertion at National Geographic on stage a number of years ago when I was asked by a member of the audience after my lecture on solar energy and biogas and other forms of renewable energy and sustainability what I thought the most important piece of environmental technology could be. And without hesitation, I said this. And some people were surprised, but here's the reason. If you grind up food waste, which is solar energy, it's embedded solar energy in food that photosynthesis plants captured from sunlight and then embedded in proteins and fats and carbohydrates. If you grind that up, it then becomes available for bacteria and other microbes to turn it back into energy and into fertilizer so that the cycle can begin again. If you don't grind it up, then it can take months and months to turn into compost if you compost. And if you don't compost, it can end up contaminating landfills, contaminating water bodies like the beautiful Hudson River here, streams and oceans, and become a nuisance and cause toxic, anaerobic, pathological conditions. But when you grind it up into a fine slurry, it then is available at the rate at which microbes work, and they can rapidly turn it into methane gas, biogas, and into fertilizer. So if you don't have this, you're looking at a problem. If you do have this, and where's that McDonald's?
Right behind you.
Oh, there it is. Stale French fries. They will attract this kind of food waste. If you put it in a plastic bag in a garbage can, it will attract flies and rats. We have a friend in Egypt, Hanafathi, and his family, and they lost their baby niece in her crib because the rats came around looking for food, but they had bagged it up and tied it so no rats could get in, but the rats were hungry and they could smell food. You can always smell food when it's in a garbage can, no matter how well you tie it. And the baby was in a crib, and they climbed in the window, and they started chewing in her head and caused an infection, and she died. And this is not a single story. This happens all over the world. Happens in parts of Egypt all the time. You just don't read about these things very often. Rats are killers. They spread disease and infection. And flies spread disease and infection. And one way that you can completely eliminate that disease is by eliminating the food waste so that the animals can't have it. These vectors of disease. Dogs can be very dangerous looking through garbage cans. They can become vicious wild dogs. Cats can become a problem, can carry toxoplasmosis and cause pregnant women to abort their children if you're around a cat that has toxoplasmosis. Right? So there's a lot of problems with vermin or other animals that are trying to get at food waste. But when you put it in here, and when you put it in here and you grind it up, and I'm going to put a little bit of water and could you plug this in? You plug this in because I don't have a switch for this yet. Okay. You can look down here. When I put my hand and force this down in, you hear it grinding. What comes out on this end, a little bit more water in. Out, so it comes out clean. And now it's almost running clean now. Okay, so your food waste, you can unplug it now. Now your food waste is so broken down that it can be put directly into the garden without even having a compost bin. You can just pour this on the garden, and the earthworms and the insects and the fungi and the bacteria will turn it into good soil, fertile soil, in 3 to 6 days, not 3 to 6 months. This means that you could go into the deserts of Egypt, where there is no soil, bring food waste, grind it up, and pour it on the desert sand, and within a few months, because every 3 to 6 days this is turning into dirt, you would have soil that you could plant in by simply grinding it up.
Is that all that has to be done? Add water and then grind it? And
that's it. And then
you could dip that into the soil right now?
We could do that right now. Now, if you want to get really good quality soil, you don't just pour it directly on the ground. You put it in a compost bin, which concentrates the organics so that they can begin to heat up, because there's an exothermic or heat-producing reaction that bacteria do when they have enough organic material to work with. They burn it a slow burn, like goes on in your stomach. And that's how you get heat. You get body heat. You eat and just, I feel warm now. Because when you digest with air, it creates heat. Otherwise, you'd freeze to death. You're an exothermic, homeothermic animal. If you put it in an anaerobic chamber, Sonny, you want to bring those buckets over? Or should we just walk over there? No. Bring over. If you put it in an anaerobic chamber, and you introduce the bacteria from either cow manure, horse manure, or human manure in here, or your own gut, take your own poop or your baby's diaper waste. I've done that. Take the baby's diaper, put that in and seal it. Those bacteria will eat this without air, and they'll start producing methane.
Wow.
And the methane is the same natural gas that we find in oil fields and that they're fracking for, and there's the big controversy. They're drilling in and putting chemicals and high-pressure water to drive natural gas to the surface, and then they're putting it in your cooking stove. But this system here, where's the top of this thing? Oh, here it is. This is a very simple biodigester that we've developed to show people, and we got it. It was working in Manhattan for the club last year. We're going to fill this with horse manure, feed it a little bit of food waste, and we're going to seal it. And you can see that this is consider this the stomach of a sacred cow. And this is its mouth and its throat, and this is its esophagus going to the stomach. And if I fill this up with water and horse manure or human manure or any source of manure, even lake mud, it has the same bacteria, the anaerobic bacteria that don't use air. If I fill it up and I seal it so no air can get in, then what you can see here, as I put new food in, because there's a pipe going halfway down, where's the water going to go? If I add new water and it's filled with water, it's going to pour out here. And that is fertilizer. That's liquid compost tea that can be put directly into your garden. But out of here, gas bubbles are going to start to build up, because just like you, when you eat a burrito, you begin to fart. Because the bacteria say, you're not digesting all of this fast enough, let's us eat it. And they eat some of the food and turn it into methane gas. And that's why people do fart. Some of the farting is nitrogen, that you swallowed air, but most of it is methane. And I don't know if you've ever heard that you can light people's farts on fire a lot of the time, because it's methane gas. So this is just a stomach, and this stomach will produce gas, and that methane will come out this tube here, and then what we do is we put it into this bucket.
So once the methane goes in there.
Right. We fill this bucket with water, and when the methane starts being produced, it'll start making this float. This will float on the water. So imagine this filled with water. As this fills with gas, it's just going to float, and then we open this and we light it. And this is another excess fertilizer spills out here. What we also do, there's another pipe somewhere around. Doesn't matter. We hook this up, this pipe down to this, so that the fertilizer that comes out to this fills this and then fills out again.
And then you put that in your grass once it comes out?
And then you put what comes out of here to the grass, and you use this to cook. And this is a miniature. The best we got was, I think, 1 minute off of this, right, per day?
Oh, you got 3 minutes?
We got 3 minutes one day? We got 3 minutes. But that's because it's so tiny. The bigger ones that we're going to be building in the clubhouse and by the clubhouse will be 1,000 liters. This is only 20 liters. And that will produce 50 times more. So multiply 50 by 3 minutes, and you get 150 minutes, which is over 2 hours. So we'll be able to cook for 2 hours a day, hopefully, from the gas that we get at the clubhouse, which should be able to keep the clubhouse warm and provide light and run a generator and run the refrigerator. That's what our experiments this semester are going to be, but those tanks don't arrive till mid-October. But this is the Mini, and we're going to set this Mini up. It is sort of set up already. We just have to get horse manure, because I don't think anybody wants to put human manure into it. We did do that last semester, and we got a lot of shit from people. We're like, what? You started with like, yeah, we went to a composting toilet and we took some of the composting toilet stuff and put it in there. What's the problem? They're like, you can't do that. So people have attitudes. Obviously in Brazil, they're going like, oh, we got lots of toilet waste. Well, we don't have any animals, just us. So they're happy to do it that way. But America has its issues. We'll get over them. We're a fecophobic nation. We're getting through that. But what it does to the manure is it actually makes it safe. The biodigester bacteria under anaerobic conditions in here will eat Escherichia coli and cholera and typhoid, any pathogens that might be in human waste.
Do we need to introduce bacteria inside, or is already?
We have to introduce them.
Okay.
The manure has it.
Manure has.
Manure has all the bacteria. It has bad bacteria, but it has good bacteria.
Okay.
Everything that lived in your stomach that helped you digest.
Yeah.
Some of those bacteria, if they grow too much, like E. coli, can cause sickness. But when they get in there, they're in an unfamiliar environment, and you're feeding them with food waste, and they're competing with the other bacteria that make methane, and they get killed off. So within 3 weeks, there's no bad bacteria left in the system, and only the good bacteria are there.
States.
Yeah, they do this in India, they do it in Pakistan, they do it in China, they do it in Nepal, they do it in Kenya and Tanzania. Everywhere in the world is catching on to the idea that the best way to deal with toilet waste is to put it in a tank and let the bacteria feed, and then feed them some food waste, and then you create a fertilizer that's safe to use for growing very nutritious food. And why is it so nutritious? Because where did the nutrition go that makes our farms turn into desert? Where did it go? Like, why is a farmer, he starts out, the first time he opens the farm, good nutritious soil, he grows food, and then pretty soon it's turning into desert. Where'd it go?
Oh, no, I was going to ask a question.
Let me answer this. Does anybody think about where did the nutrition go? Why do farmers need to buy fertilizer and fertilize their crops?
Oh.
Why? Why doesn't the system just maintain itself? Why does soil lose fertility?
Because of the chemicals they put on.
That's today, but even in the past, soil would lose fertility. They'd always have to put something, put manure on the fields. Somehow they'd have to fertilize. Why? Where is the nutrition? So you say we're talking about zinc for your body, or we're talking about nitrogen or phosphorus or potassium, all the things that make your body strong. Why does it leave the soil? Where does it go?
In my body.
Nitrogen and phosphorus made your body strong. So it came out of the soil, went into the plant, you bought the plant in the supermarket, and you ate it. So where did the nitrogen go? Inside you, and then where does it go? How does it?
Back out.
It goes back out. So your banana peel, your French fry that you threw away, and your poo are the soil. But it came from the farm, went through you, and went into your garbage can or your toilet, and then it went out to the ocean.
It's supposed to go to the.
It's supposed to go back to the farm. So we've been doing it wrong, but it makes the chemical companies very happy because it means that they can then make chemical fertilizer and sell them to the farmers. And they get big bucks. But this is going to we're going to show in the garden that we can make our own fertilizer from cafeteria waste, and then we're safe. Yeah.
So, because you use McDonald's.